Ladies and gentlemen, first of all, thank you very much for joining the session. My name is Leonid, and I'm one of the researchers behind the Hudson operation. And 1 year ago, I was standing exactly on this stage, and for the first time at CyberSec Taiwan event, I was speaking about the Infostealer malware threat. So 1 year passed, and maybe 1 year, this is not too much time. But in the people for the cybersecurity, this is like an eternity, because so many things happen. We saw the rise and fall of notorious Infostealers, and new tools, they joined cybercriminals' arsenal, and even click fix that only 12 months ago was something relatively new, today became the most prominent malware delivery method. So the reason I'm telling you all this story is because today we have an opportunity to slow down, look back, and connect all the dots inside the Infostealer ecosystem as part of this annual cyber intelligence brief. So without further ado, let's begin. But just before we start, there's a very brief disclaimer that we need to show you. Number one, everything that you're going to see here today is for educational purposes only. Definitely, please don't do any shady stuff later on the dark web based on what you're going to see here. Then, all the opinions and all the research is based only on the Hudson expertise. And the most important, the role of CyberSec event and the organizers here is only to provide this opportunity to speak here with you. Thank you very much for reading that. So as I like to say, on the chef menu for today, we're definitely going to speak about the Infostealers. Couple of very interesting things happened in this niche during the last year. And most important, there is 4 main pillars that basically enable this cybercrime operation. And exactly those 4 pillars we're going to discuss here today. Later, I already mentioned the click fix. 12 months ago, it was something new. Today, it became the most prominent malware delivery method. We're going to see live and real examples how threat actors leverage this technology to deliver the malware. Later, we're going to discuss a new tool that significantly makes life of cyber criminals more easy, because they want to monetize the data, they want to understand what kind of data they have in their hands, and a new tool that I'm going to show you exactly helps them to do that. Next one, in my opinion, the most important one, I'm going to share with you a couple of tips and tricks how to stay safe. Completely easy way, cybersecurity awareness, but believe me, if by sharing those tips with you, I will manage to prevent at least one Infostealer infection, it will make my day. And we will close this session with a little bit of predictions, how basically threat actors discuss this malware on the cybercrime underground. So without further ado, let's move on. So the main purpose of the Infostealer or info-stealing malware remains the same. This is the malware that was designed to steal all the critical information from the computer. I'm speaking exactly about the situation when people create a new account and then the browser asks this magic question, would you like to store your credentials? And most people say yes, why not? What can go wrong? But unfortunately, those people don't know that this data will be stored locally on their device, in the same place, in the same folder, and the file name like a login data. And basically for the threat actors, it was relatively easy to create a malware that we know how to find this information, decrypt this information, and send it back to the attacker in the way that you see here on the right side. The URL, username, and the password. Everything in a plain text. And again, just to summarize, the main purpose of the Infostealer is to steal credentials stored inside the built-in password manager. And now you will say, Leonid, or Leo, whatever works best for you. If the main purpose of the Infostealers remains the same, why you are here? What is the difference? And the difference this year is in the scale. Back in 2018, we were aware approximately about 135,000 infections per year. Today, this is the number that we see per 1 week. And basically, threat actors, they managed to infect slightly below 40 million of compromised computers. But this is only the beginning, because one computer do not contain only one password. On average, each computer has approximately 100 passwords. So the real number, we need to take those 40 million of compromised computers, multiply to 100 passwords, and this what we will get. The threat actors basically created for them a big pool of data related to 14 million of compromised domains, 5 million of compromised employees. Basically, I'm speaking about some kind of corporate credentials that for sure used by the employees and not by the normal people. And in total, the bad guys have a visibility into over 500 million of compromised URLs, usernames, and the passwords. I'll give you maybe a couple of seconds to do those numbers to sync, because that's a lot. But behind those numbers, there is a full cybercrime ecosystem that is built on 4 main pillars, as I already explained to you at the beginning. And this is the Infostealer, the malware itself, the encryption, process that make the life of cybersecurity detection products significantly harder to detect, the delivery method, because if you have a malware, it's supposed to be delivered to the victims, and the last step, this is the monetization. How basically threat actors, they make money from those stolen credentials. And this is going to be our focus for today. So let's start with the first one, with the Infostealer itself. In the reality of 2026, this is still available as a malware as a service. In a simple language, it means that you don't need to write the code. You don't need to be some kind of nation-state level attacker. Basically, you can go to dark web underground forums, find people that sell this malware or offer this malware for rent, exactly like Aura Stealer that was introduced to the cybercriminals in August 2025 last year. And basically, by paying the lowest entry point of $295, you, in a couple of hours, becoming a malware owner. And those groups, they operate like a real business. They have a salespeople, they have a customer support, they have a developers, product manager. They even, as you can see here on the left side, they even have different packages, like a real business. The basic one, a little bit more advanced one. They even have those like marketing sentences like, your path for success begins here. Or the golden mean of those who are willing to winning, all right? The translation a little bit messed up. Originally, this is Russian, yeah, but this is the idea. And what I'm trying to say here, that for investing relatively low amount of money, this basically enables threat actors to go in these businesses. As you can see, they will get a fully ready-to-go solution how to start infect Windows-based devices. I said Windows-based, but people also have Macs, like me, like you. What about that? All right, we're coming back. So last year, I was speaking that macOS stealers, there is something relatively new, almost do not exist. But, ladies and gents, this year, we saw approximately 6 new Infostealers that know how to target macOS computers. So basically, from something only in the last year that was relatively new, today it's become some kind of standard. Like Atlas. Atlas, this is an Infostealer for Mac computers that was discovered at the beginning of 2026. As you can see, it knows how to do more or less the same like a Windows one. To steal the passwords, the cookies, credit cards, data about extensions, browsing history. It supports a variety of browsers, Chrome, Opera, Microsoft Edge, you name it, everything works. Small difference about the macOS stealers that they are a little bit more expensive, so the entry level is a little bit more higher. And to infect macOS, Mac-based computer, it's a little bit more harder than Windows. It's possible, a little bit more harder, but the main takeaway from here is that something that the last year was new, today is a completely new normal. So the bad guys, they have the stealer. And now what we see more and more, that they just do not send the stealer as is, they encrypt the stealer, okay? So basically what it's creating is the situation that for the cybersecurity protection solution, it will be very, very hard to detect that this is a malware. And this is one example of those services, also available on the dark web, fully as a service. When the threat actors have the malware, they will reach out to those shady services, pay them their fee, use the Telegram bot to upload the malicious file. The team behind this operation will do all the necessary changes to encrypt the malware, and they will return the encrypted file back also using the Telegram, also with this lovely message that your file is ready, and you have any problems, please contact the support team. As you can see, they're also operating as a business, cybercrime business. So now they have the malware, now this malware is encrypted, now the life of cybersecurity solutions is supposed to be really, really hard, and now it's time for them to deliver this malware to the victims. I'll give you a couple of seconds to try to understand what do you see here on the screen. Pretty sure that the first thing on your mind that you see here a CAPTCHA. And by the way, you are right. But I actually want to start what's going on in the background here. In the background, this is a legitimate real site of construction company here in Asia, but not in Taiwan. And again, this is a legitimate company, legitimate site with the legitimate customers. They trust this company. But what threat actors did, they hijacked this site and just added this CAPTCHA. So basically, when the next time the customers of this company will browse this site that they already trust, they know the company, they believe the company, they will see this CAPTCHA that looks like a CAPTCHA, feels like a CAPTCHA, but when they will click that they're not a robot, they will see those instructions. So step number one, you need to pass a verification step, okay, like in every CAPTCHA. You need to press Windows key R. People familiar with the Windows, it will open the run window. Then you need to press Ctrl V. It will paste some kind of text. But in the background, the malicious site already injected in the clipboard some malicious payload. And the last step, very easy, just press Enter. And it basically enables people that trust this company and think that they are solving like a normal CAPTCHA in fully automated way, infect their own computer with the Infostealer. So this is one of the biggest trends that we see during the last couple of months. Legitimate site, hijacked, added this some kind of fake CAPTCHA, and basically this is how the people get infected. Another example, this is completely fake sites. Nobody canceled this vector too. This is an example that somebody created at booking.com. It's obviously not booking.com, yes. Completely fake site that looks like booking.com, that feels like booking.com, but nobody in the booking.com will tell you, please press Windows key R. Again, in the background, it will inject some malicious payload. Ctrl V, it will paste this payload, and then press Enter. So those kinds of methods, fake sites and hijack sites, right now are on the biggest trend. But what we also saw during the last year is the creativity, how the threat actors trying to push you this kind of method. So it's not only CAPTCHAs. They can tell you, hey, your font is missing, your microphone is not working, your camera is bad, you need to do something else, and to solve that you missing some kind of font, please press Windows key X, PowerShell on the Windows, I, Ctrl V, and Enter. Okay, by the way, this method was used in one of the North Korean government attacks, all right? But also this kind of service, this kind of trick is available as a service. You can find people that basically will sell you this kind of, let's call it solution. You only need to pay $50 and they will give it for you ready to go, some kind of panel that will generate for you those fake captchas. It will not only generate for you fake captchas, it will also understand if the victim is coming from Windows device, from Mac device, from Android, from Linux, what kind of browser they're using, and this is because later you'll need to present to the victims what kind of actions they need to do. This is an example of this panel, all right? So basically to create the click fix or fake captcha traps, you even don't need to do it by yourself. You just rent this kind of service. You need to make, create what you want to present to your victims. Your font is missing, your camera is not working, what kind of actions they need to do, what kind of payload will be injected into the browser. And again, this is a ready to go turnkey solution only for $50 a month. Until it's still fresh, please, please, please remember this slide. Guys, what you do not definitely need to fix in your life. So when you browse the internet and one day some site pop-ups to you the message, you need to pass verification check, you need to fix your font, your camera, your microphone, your screen, something is missing, you need to activate the Windows, you need to get remote support. I even saw an example that's saying you have a virus, and to remove the virus, you need to do those steps. And solution for all those fake problems begins that you need to press Windows key R. This is 100% malware. Run away as fast as possible. So please, please, please remember that. If somebody is saying you have a problem and to solve this problem, this is Windows key R, no, that's malware 100%. By the way, we authorize sharing of this presentation, so later you can take this and share with your friends and to keep them safe too. And now we're coming to the last stage, the monetization part, because what we covered right now, this is the main part of the chain. Threat actors have the malware, encrypt the malware, they spread the malware, and they have the victims, okay? Each separate computer that is infected by the Infostealer creates what it's called the Infostealer log. This is the example. Basically, each folder represents separate computer, and inside the folder there is a stolen data. On average, every threat actor managed to infect approximately between 5,000 up to 10,000 computers per campaign. That's a lot of information. Manually, to start to dig inside, it's impossible. You have 10,000 of folders, it's impossible. What we saw during the end of 25, this is the tool, that it's called Daytona Checker, and this tool as an input will take those Infostealer folders in this format, and it will execute a fully automated check to basically present to the threat actor what kind of username, password, and URLs are still alive, and what exactly is in their hand. It's business email, it's remote connection, it's some kind of VPN connection, it's GitLab or GitHub account for development. And basically it creates a situation that threat actors, they finish the malicious campaign, they have right now 10,000 of those serial log folders, they just drop them to this tool, and they have a list of ready-to-go things that they can now go and resell to another threat actors. This is something that significantly speeds up the monetization process. We cover right now the four main pillars: the Infostealer, encryption, delivery method, the click fix, and the new tools. As my presentation coming to the final stage of my talk, I also want to share with you a couple interesting news that happened in the Infostealer during the last year. We saw the leaks well, not only we, but everyone in cybersecurity community, the leaks of the Blackbuster ransomware group. Blackbuster was a notorious ransomware gang, and last year they leaked their whole conversation, 2-year conversation. And when we analyzed this information, we saw that Infostealers are not used only by the single lonely wolf threat actors that only have a budget of $300. It's used by also notorious ransomware groups, because later when they're inside network of the company, they use Infostealers to steal the data internally. It's a little bit more complex operation, but my message here that this kind of tool is also used by the high-profile groups. But at some point, law enforcement agency says, enough, this is enough. And last year we saw something that is called Operation Magnus. This is operation, joint operation between a variety of law enforcement agencies. And this led to closure of the Redline Infostealer operation. Redline was one of the most notorious ones. As you can see, in 2024, it was continuously on the rise. Then, in 24, the operation happened, and then you can see that this number of infections significantly dropped down. This is the good news. I have the bad news, because the empty void was quickly, there was another kind of Infostealers that understood that they are gone, there is empty place, and they took their place too. But this emphasis that if the law enforcement want to do those kinds of operations on a continuous basis, it's something that really, really helps. Another thing, and this is going to be almost last slide before I finish here. Last time here I was speaking about Medusa Stealer. Medusa Stealer was also on the rise during the last year. But in 26, the life of Medusa Stealer developer a little bit changed. Because this gentleman is lying on the floor with Hello Kitty pants while being arrested by the law enforcement agencies. And this is, again, a big thanks for the law enforcement agencies all over the globe that they doing their best to find those Infostealers operators, arrest them, and make sure to close their infrastructure, okay? My last slide here for today. There is a very interesting topic on the Russian cybercrime forum called "What do you want to see in the modern stealer?" And this is like a big thread where different bad actors discuss what's going to be next. And they say, okay, what we should add to new stealers, what kind of next generation stealers should look like. And the main summary of their talk is basically saying, hey, we're only using the 5 or 10% of the data that are coming from the stealer. We need to find a way how to monetize the rest of the data. Because stealer is not taking the passwords, it's taking history data, credit card information, active cookies. So basically what I think that's going to happen this year, that we're going to see more and more and more data monetized that is not only URLs, username, and the passwords, because this, according to this discussion, is going to be the next vector. Ladies and gents, as usual, it was my pleasure. Thank you very much for attending this session.